Welcome to Crossover Thursday, everybody. Luke Braun of Locked On Vikings here. Thank you and hello to Patriots fans. Here with Mike Debate of Locked On Patriots. And welcome to another crossover on the Locked On Podcast Network. Mike, how's it going, man?
It's going great, Luke. Thanks so much for having me today. Happy Thanksgiving to everyone out there listening on this Thanksgiving Day. No days off in Foxborough. That was a slogan up here a few years ago. Bill Belichick tried to
Yeah,
enact that.
sure.
We've adopted that here on the Locked On Podcast Network with the crossovers. But no, all kidding aside, it is definitely great to be here, and it's great to be in action on Thanksgiving Day. It's been 10 years since the Patriots have had a Thanksgiving day or night matchup, and this is one I know Patriots fans have been looking forward to for a long time.
Awesome. Today's episode, as all crossovers are brought to you by Prize Picks. It's daily fantasy made easy, and it's so much fun. Instead of joining a pool of 1,000 different people, just you against the house. Just if you think your favorite players can beat their Prize Picks projection, you can get in on that. New time joiners can get a 100% match up to $100 if they use promo code locked on at prizepicks.com or on the Prize Picks app. So here on Crossover Thursday, we usually start with the biggest storyline surrounding each team. And I feel like for both these teams, maybe just this is part of it being on a short week. It's more about what happened last week and can they like subvert that or keep it going, as it were, with like the Patriots defense. But the Vikings are coming off this horrific blowout.
Hmm.
And for the Vikings, the story is, can they bounce back, or did they just get exposed as the frauds they are and they'll never win another game again? Like I'm seeing a lot of people say that. um, so I don't know. We're sort of at this crossroads, this very like we're like floating through space in this very unknown moment where we don't know if the Vikings are, they deserve to be 8-2 or not. Maybe they're more like a 3-5 team that just got a little lucky or whatever, and they're never going to win another game again. And um, but for the Patriots coming off, like, what is the vibe in Foxborough coming off of that 10-3 win against the Jets? Super defensive, like unbelievably defensive struggle, and the punt return touchdown is the only score.
Well, right now, I mean, it's an era of good feelings for Marcus Jones, no question about it. He is the toast of the town in Foxborough, and for good reason. When you walk off the game, essentially, I know there was still time left on the clock, but an 84-yard punt return to win it definitely is going to endear you to the fan base. So Jones continues to be someone that Patriots fans will be watching closely in this game, but ultimately, there is still that prevailing undercurrent of worry regarding the offense. Only 3 points put on the board by the Patriots offense. And technically, you may even take those off the board because it came on a 24-yard field goal from Nick Folk. So the Patriots offense in the red zone, especially, they crossed into Jets territory 11 times during this game, and only 5 of them were they able to actually advance past Jets territory and try to make a move for the red zone, and none of those ended up really working out in any points. So right now, the big story for New England is if that offense is going to rebound at all, it's the health of center and team captain David Andrews. Suffered what looked like a serious thigh injury on Sunday against the Jets, left the game. After the game, a lot of reports came out that he might even, in fact, be done for the season, and that's pretty detrimental for New England. He has a tremendous impact on both run blocking and pass protection, but he channeled his inner Mark Twain yesterday, I should say on Tuesday, when he remained out on the practice field and he came back. So his reports of his demise are greatly exaggerated. David
What?
Andrews really showing a lot of toughness, a lot of fortitude by being out there. At the time we're recording this, still a tad too early to determine whether or not he's going to be active on Thursday. My guess is he still probably is going to need 1 game rest, but
Mm.
the fact of the matter that he was out there is really acting as, I think, a spiritual lift and maybe an emotional lift for this team as well. And they need it, especially if he's going to be out of the lineup. Just to give you a little example as to what the Patriots offense looks like without David Andrews as opposed to with Luke. Their offense, when David Andrews missed 2 games in concussion protocol after the hit he sustained from Mike Pennell of the Bears in week 7, their offensive efficiency plummeted to point zero 0.03 expected points added to 0.25 EPA. So you look at that, that's a significant drop for the New England Patriots
Man.
without him in the lineup. Mac Jones pressured on 39.3% of his dropbacks without David Andrews in the lineup, only 28.2% when he was in the lineup. So you look at that, and that absence definitely has an impact. And even on the running game, the Pats' running game was averaging 4.7 yards per rush with Andrews. That dropped to a total of 3.6 without him. So you can see it affects
Wow.
all aspects, not just Mac. That's how vital this guy is. And if he's not able to go, the Vikings definitely are going to want to capitalize on that. To me, that's the biggest story coming out of New England right now.
So I could definitely see that being the thing we talk about after the game because the Vikings have seen a couple of backup centers this year. We've been a little lucky that way,
Right.
that we've happened to catch teams while their starting centers are hurt.
Right.
And Zadarius Smith in particular, his
Mm-hmm.
superpower, and he discovered this in a random like fire zone blitz in Baltimore way back when, before he even went to Green Bay, and then Green Bay really just made it his identity, is um, beating interior offensive linemen one-on-one. If you can get Zadarius Smith on a guard one-on-one, he will crush that dude.
Mm-hmm.
That he's one of the best in the league at that.
Right.
And against Arizona and Washington, two of the best defensive games the Vikings have had, been a backup center, and Zadarius Smith has found that backup center all day long. So if the Patriots have to go with, I don't know who your backup center is, if the Patriots have to go with that, that guy's probably going to draw Zadarius Smith all day. And every pass rush, the Vikings won't blitz all day. They'll do all 4-man pass rushes.
Mm-hmm.
And those 4-man pass rushes will be designed to get Zadarius Smith one-on-one with the center, and that's going to be the focal point, and that guy's going to have to hold up. Like, that's probably going to be a huge part of what happens on that side of the ball.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I was talking about it on my show yesterday. I am a little worried about this run game with Ramondre Stevenson and how he has been surging. I mean, is this guy the next big thing in New England? Is this running game the new identity of the New England Patriots?
Well, up until a few games ago, I would have said definitely yes. Ramondre Stevenson right now looks like one of the best dual threat options that the Patriots have. He's not just adept at being able to run the football, but also he led all receivers last game against the Jets, with catching the ball out of the backfield. So Stevenson is definitely someone, if you're a Minnesota Vikings fan, you want to keep an eye on. You want to try to keep him in check at all costs. But the one thing that the Patriots right now have been held in check with is trying to get the running game going on the ground, using it as a significant complement to the passing game. Ramondre was limited to only 26 yards on 15 carries against the Jets. Very aggressive front. They made sure that they were going to take him out of the game, and that's exactly what they did. Damian Harris still has the capability, of being a feature back. He was the Patriots feature back for the last couple of seasons. 8 carries, 65 yards, so a little bit better of an output for Damian Harris on Sunday. But even with a couple of explosive plays that Damian put on the field, Patriots, they only managed 99 yards on 26 carries for 3.8 yard average on Sunday. That's not going to be able to sustain them for much longer if they really want to lean on this running game. If Andrews, again, is going to be out of the lineup, and also Isaiah Wynn, left tackle, starting left tackle, right tackle, he's kind of been all over the place this season. He struggled, but he's still a pro level, capable offensive lineman that can really, I think, be a better asset in the run game than in pass protection. He's potentially out with a foot injury in this game. If both of those guys go down, all of a sudden you're talking about the Vikings being able to really contain what has
Hmm.
become an ordinary running game in the last few weeks for the New England Patriots, especially with a backup center like James Ferentz, who will be their center if David Andrews can't go. He's had a real problem with the 4-man rush and some difficulty in run blocking as well.
Hmm. Yeah, the Vikings run defense has given up some of the most production in the league. Some of that is by design, that they keep the box light, they keep everything spread out because they want to make the safety's never in the box. They want to make sure they don't get beat over the top, and they are okay if you run the ball a little more on them. But some of that has been like the way the Cowboys ran the ball on them was embarrassing. So some of it is just like, even if you're taking some, that's unacceptable. But I want to talk about the other side of the ball, particularly some of the matchups. I want to hear about what the Patriots are going to do against Justin Jefferson, and I'm sure you have similar questions for me. So we will get into that in just a moment. But first, a word from our sponsor, BetterHelp.
This show is sponsored by BetterHelp Therapy Online. And folks, we all live in complex times, and whether it be emotional stress or financial stress, health related stress, or the stresses related to social anxiety, trying therapy can help you unload that stress and move forward in gaining emotional healing. Unfortunately, folks, life does not come with a user manual. So when it's not working for you, it's normal to feel stuck. And therapists are trained to help you figure out the cause of the challenging emotions you feel and learn productive coping skills. That's what makes therapy the closest thing to a guided tour of the complex engine called you. Everyone deserves to feel their best, and BetterHelp makes it easier to get started. As the world's largest therapy service, they've matched millions of people with professionally licensed and vetted therapists available 100% online. All the benefits of in person therapy, plus it's more convenient, more accessible, and more affordable. Just fill out a brief questionnaire to match with a therapist, and if things aren't going your way or clicking, you can easily switch to a new therapist at any time. It could not be simpler. So get unstuck with BetterHelp. Learn more and save 10% off your first month at betterhelp.com/locked on. That's BetterHelp, HELP.com/locked on.
Thank you so much for making this crossover Thursday your first listen of the day. As always, for your second listen, check out Locked On Sports today. World Cup's going on. Of course, basketball, hockey season in full swing, and lots of NFL news as well to talk about on Locked On Sports today, covering all sports, the whole wide world of them, with a half hour or less every single weekday, just like this show. And once again, thank you to Locked On Vikings and Locked On Patriots fans for listening to us break down this Thursday night Thanksgiving night game matchup. Primetime purple going on with the Minnesota Vikings and New England Patriots. So let me just get right into the thing I teased. Justin Jefferson totally shut down against the Cowboys, mostly because the Vikings couldn't get the ball out. And watching the tape of that game, Justin Jefferson was open all day. I don't think the Cowboys secondary did a very good job of containing him. They just couldn't protect Kirk Cousins at all. He took 7 sacks. He was under pressure all day, and it was all very the offensive line had a day to forget.
Absolutely.
So Bill Belichick is famous for taking away your number one option. And usually when that's a wide receiver, the way I'm familiar with it, and correct me if I'm wrong here, is that he'll take like the second cornerback and put him on your best player and then put a safety over the top of that. So he'll bracket your best guy with CB2 and a safety, and then CB1 will guard your second best guy. And that's the way he did. Is that still the way Belichick works, or have things evolved over time? Because that's a pretty old opinion that I have.
No, that's actually pretty well accurate, and I think that's what you're going to see. The only thing
Okay.
that you might see, and that the Patriots have been doing a little differently this year, is mixing up their coverage between CB1 and CB2, which means that at various points throughout the game, you might see Jonathan Jones covering Justin Jefferson. Because of Jonathan Jones's speed, he has a little bit of a better ability to be able to hang with someone with Justin's abilities, and even that is a daunting task. I mean, other than praying, to be able to contain him, this is probably what Bill Belichick, I think, is going to do. But you might see Jalen Mills as well if he needs to go into some zone coverages as well, because that's where Jalen really excels and really, I think, is somebody that could be an option here as well. With the safety, that's going to be determined by not only health, but also the ability of TJ Hawkinson to be a factor in this game as well.
Yeah.
If the Patriots feel that they can contain Hawkinson with a combination of guys like Devin McCourty, Adrian Phillips, and maybe even a Jabril Peppers playing a enforcer type role, then you're going to see Kyle Duggar come out and play and be the guy and the safety that might give an additional bit of help to trying to contain Justin Jefferson. This would be extremely interesting, Luke, without any question, because the Patriots were on the clock in 2020 when Justin was coming out of the NFL draft. The Vikings had the 22nd pick and they picked Justin Jefferson. New England Patriots immediately traded down to the number 37 pick in the second round and they selected Kyle Duggar. Yesterday, Bill
Oh,
Belichick played very coy about what his plans were with that 23rd pick if Minnesota went in a different direction. So this is something that I think a lot of Patriots fans are going to be looking at. The what
hmm,
might have been with Justin Jefferson obviously
right.
is something that is fun to think about, but it did not happen that way. This is an opportunity for Kyle Duggar to show that, hey, you know what? I can rise to prominence on a national stage. He's facing a daunting task, facing one of the best, arguably the best wide receiver in the game right now. That's going to be very, very interesting. And that's something I'm going to have my sharp eye on as well. So if the Patriots are to have success, my opinion, it's going to be a combination of maybe Mills and Duggar, but don't be surprised if Jonathan Jones gets some looks as well because of the speed factor that's involved.
Okay, so yeah, a lot of team effort there. I will say, for as good as Justin Jefferson is at beating guys on routes one on one, and he's
Hmm.
phenomenal at it, he might be better against zone. And that's like when he was coming out, one of the biggest like pluses on his scouting report was how good and natural he was at finding the holes in zones. And whenever you have him on a search route or on something where the instruction is to split a guy or to find space, he was always really, really, really good at that, just like spatial awareness. Um, the best success anybody's had is probably Philadelphia against Justin Jefferson, where they had somebody playing press man underneath and then capping him over the top, which sounds like probably what the coverages will be with New
Hmm.
England. So I'm curious to see if the Vikings have better answers to it this time. But let me flip it over to you. What matchups are there in this game that you're looking forward to, or maybe not looking forward to?
Well, I think it's both simultaneous. I'm looking forward to seeing how Mac Jones is going to be able to handle the pressure that Minnesota
Mm,
is going to be dying to put on him. Mac Jones had an average of anywhere between 2.1 and 2.8 seconds to get the ball out of his hands against the Jets on Sunday. And really, it's been like this since his return from the high ankle sprain. He is under enormous pressure every single time he drops back. And this is something that the teams that have the ability to do it will continuously do. And you mentioned Zadarius Smith in the previous segment. 9.5 sacks. You know he's looking to pin his ears back, get after the quarterback, and win those one-on-one matchups, especially if James Ferentz is going to be the center. And even if he's not, David Andrews is probably not 100% at this point. So Smith is looking at this. I know he's got
yeah,
his own
he might go at the hobble
injury.
guy anyways.
Yeah, I know his injury, history right now. I know he's watching an injury. He showed up on the report the last couple of days, but Smith is someone I guarantee you Bill Belichick is looking at and saying he cannot beat us. But it's one thing to know it's coming; it's another thing to stop it. And if the Patriots have the ability to at least contain Zadarius, it gives Mac Jones an extra half a second, an extra second to be able to get the ball out, and that's where he can make things happen. I think New England is going to try to go play action heavy in this game. I think they maybe go no huddle at times,
Mhm.
try to up tempo what they're trying to do to try to get into a rhythm. May not be the smartest way to attack Minnesota's defense, but it may be the best way for the Patriots to try to find some rhythm. That's something they've desperately lacked. And if they continue to sputter in that case, Minnesota is adept on both sides of the ball enough to be able to take advantage of it and make the Patriots pay for it.
So, speaking of both sides of the ball, we should probably talk about the other side of pressure because the Vikings had a moment giving up a lot of pressure, 63% pressure against the Cowboys. I don't know if you saw the stat, but for reference, that famous Pat Mahomes Super Bowl against the Bucks, where it felt like he was under pressure all day and he couldn't get anything going, was
Hmm.
37%. We did
Right.
63. It's awful. Um, and you got Matthew Judon over there.
Right.
So Matthew Judon, by the way, no Christian Darrisaw in this game. The stud breakout left tackle has a concussion. He won't play. That's Blake Brandel is going to be your backup. Go ahead and Google him. Um, Matthew Judon, is he going to go up against the backup tackle, or is the move to put Matthew Judon elsewhere, put somebody else against the backup tackle, and hope that they slide all of the protections toward Matthew Judon? Don't give the young kid help. What is going to be the plan with Judon and Brandel and the way the Vikings line has been struggling?
Well, the way things have been going for the Patriots so far is they've been having Judon basically take on the mismatch, but that could change in this game, considering the fact that Dietrich Wise has become a formidable pass rusher in his own right, and someone that can take that mismatch
Mm.
if Matthew Judon is better off taking the other side or maybe even helping out in the middle, trying to facilitate the run game. He's been phenomenal, and he will be their number one pass rusher. There's no question about it. The guy leads the league with 13 sacks. But at the same time, he does have at least a little bit of help on the side of the defensive on the defensive side of the ball that he didn't have last year. Judon was basically a one-man show, and in the second half of the season, when other guys were not drawing the double team, they were double teaming Matthew Judon. With the Patriots now, they need to have, or opposing defenses need to, or opposing offenses, I should say, need to have someone dedicated to being able to keep an eye on Wise because he's capable of shaking free as well. So look for those guys to work in tandem. If Wise is drawing the double team, that's going to mean bad things for Kirk Cousins, unfortunately, because Matthew
Yeah.
Judon is going to be able to win those battles. And without Darisaw in the lineup, it's only going to make his resolve even stronger. But if Wise is having difficulty, getting the double team, or if the Vikings are adept at being able to control and keep maybe one guy on him and keep him in check, then Judon's going to have difficulty getting into his rhythm and getting into his game. So this is going to be an interesting way for the Patriots to try to make something happen on the defensive side of the ball. Their front's been very good. Lawrence Guy, Devon Godchow have played at a top level without Christian Barmore in the lineup. Their defensive tackle, who is on injured reserve right now, second-year guy out of Alabama. Big hopes for him this year. Hasn't really panned out, but the Patriots have been able to move forward without losing a beat because of guys like Dietrich Wise, Godchow, and especially Lawrence Guy. So they're going to have to come up big in this game for the Patriots defense to have their best game on Thursday night.
That, I think, is the way the Patriots stop the offense. Like if we come out of this going, why did the Vikings score, 9 points? It's probably some combination of all of those names. However, the over-under for this game, last I looked at BetOnline, was 41.5. The spread last I looked at BetOnline was Vikings by 2.5. So if you want to hit those or any number of prop bets, you can go to what I just said, betonline.net. It's your one-stop shop for all things odds, news, and scores. Go bet on all of the Thanksgiving games. I do it every year when I'm with my dad. We'll do a bet on every game, so we've got something to root for if we're not rooting for the Vikings themselves. Very fun stuff. But you can also bet on much more than just football, basketball, hockey, World Cup, all sorts of other wacky stuff. Explore the site. There's all kinds of fun stuff. UFC as well, like any MMA stuff like that going on. You
Right.
can find all of that at betonline.net. You can even bet right in the middle of a game or event. If it's halftime, you think the Chiefs are going to make a comeback, you can make that bet. And I use that example because I have done that several times. And let me tell you, can recommend. betonline.net, where the game starts.
All right, folks, here is a sports analogy for you. It might be Thanksgiving Day. You're expecting some food analogies here, but let's keep it focused on sports and tonight's game. And when it comes to burglars, your home is like the end zone, and you need the absolute strongest defense that you can muster. And that's why I use and trust Simply Safe Home Security. At Simply Safe, your security is the only thing that matters. It's cutting edge technology powered by 24/7 professional monitoring agents who always have your back, so you always know your home is safe. Simply Safe's agents call you the moment a threat is detected and dispatch police or first responders in an emergency, even if you're not home or if you can't be reached. Advanced sensors for every room are available: window, door, HD security cameras for inside and outside your home. They think of it all, and there's smarter ways to detect motion that only alert you when a threat is actually real, and even hazard sensors that instantly detect fires, floods, and other threats to your home. So customize the perfect system just in time for the holidays for your home in just a few minutes at simplysafe.com/lockedonnfl. Save 20% on your Simply Safe security system when you sign up for an interactive monitoring plan and get your first month free. Visit simplysafe.com/lockedonnfl to learn more. There's no safe like Simply Safe.
Mike, I'm going to kick this to you first with predictions. This is Crossover Thursday, Locked On Podcast Network. It is time to actually call this game, and of course, a score prediction is part of it if you want. I don't really like score predictions, but we'll do them. But what I also want to put out there is, what is the headline at the on Friday morning after this game? So I want your score. I want you to tell me what you think will happen in the game, but I also want you to tell me what we're all talking about. What is the story of this game ultimately?
Uh, that's a good question. It's Thanksgiving. It's the home, type of atmosphere right now. I'm going to be a homer for a minute over here. My
Do
headline
it.
on Friday morning after the Thanksgiving night matchup is going to be the Patriots defense showing up big, I think, on this Thanksgiving night matchup. Matthew Judon, you mentioned him a lot in the previous segment. I did as well. 13 sacks leading the league. This guy has been a warrior all over the field. And it's not just his ability to pursue the quarterback, it's keeping the rest of the defense in line, helping out in the middle when it comes to run protection schemes. This is a situation where it's a big stage, and I think he can perform relatively well. And the reason why I feel confident about Judon's ability to have a big game is the fact that Christian Darrisaw is not going to be suiting up for this game. That changes the
Mm-hmm.
complexity of the way that this Minnesota Vikings offensive line is going to be able to protect Kirk Cousins. I think Minnesota has a tremendous amount of talent on the offensive side of the ball. They can play through it, but at the end of the day, I think Judon is going to be able to do just enough to keep them off balance in what I look for in a close game. So I don't think this is going to be a huge high scoring game for both teams.
Mm.
It's a short week. Thursday night games usually are never a pretty sight. I'm going with the Patriots in this one by a final of 17-14. Yeah, I think this is going to be low scoring, folks. And I think the reason for that is going to be the Patriots defense getting one more key stop than what the Vikings are going to be able to put out. But this is going to be a good game between two very good teams.
Yeah, I don't think that this will be a blowout either way. I super don't expect that. The lines that I said, the bet online lines minus 2.5, 41.5 would imply like a 22-19 Vikings victory.
Mm-hmm.
Um, Something like that. I am probably calling the under. I'm going to say it's going to be something like 20-16 or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
I'm also going to be a homer though because I think the story for this one is bounce back game. That's what it feels like to me. The way that blowout against Dallas manifested itself made the team look a lot worse than they played. Now, I don't think they played well, certainly not well enough to win or anything like that, but 40-3 oversells it, and I think a lot of
Yeah.
people are looking like, "Ha, I knew it. The
Yeah.
Vikings just
Little
aren't
fool's
very good at
gold there.
all."
Yep.
Um, but it really was one group that
Mm-hmm.
really sunk them all the way down, and it was the offensive line. That one group really broke everything else,
Right.
from a complementary football standpoint. And even without Darrisaw, part of what I think got the Vikings goat there was that Darrisaw went down in the middle of the game, like after
Mm-hmm.
2 drives. So they had Blake Brandel out there, and they had not prepared to have Blake Brandel out there. The Vikings do something really special with their protections with Christian Darrisaw. They split him out wide a lot more. They
Mm-hmm.
have him, they slide protections away from him. They really rely on Darrisaw to help everybody else out a lot more. The problem with that is when he goes out, you now have a backup with like the world on his shoulders, like Atlas.
Yep.
The things start to fall apart, and they had to adapt to protections that don't have that, right? You
Right.
can't just put the whole world on Blake Brandel, but they couldn't adapt. My speculation is that they called a bunch of protections that they didn't practice throughout the week,
Mm-hmm.
and a lot of mistakes got made, a lot of oversets, a lot of bad splits. Sometimes people just straight up blocking the wrong dude, protection busts, all that stuff happened. Now that they can prepare for it, I don't think it's going to be as big of a problem. Still
Mm-hmm.
a weakness, right? Still something for the Patriots to exploit, but I am seeing bounce back game. That's going to be the deal. So, you know what? I'm going to say the under hits. Vikings cover the spread, but I think also that the Vikings can put a lot of pressure on Mac Jones and keep the Patriots behind the sticks. And I think whatever you can do with the run game is not going to be enough when it's 3rd and 10. So I'm going to be a homer about it too. 20-10 Vikings. Go Vikings.
Interesting. And I think I'm glad about what you said about a blowout because I don't think it's going to go that way. If this one does migrate into a blowout, though, I absolutely know that that would favor, or that at least I believe that would favor the Minnesota Vikings. The New England Patriots are not built right now at this stage to blow teams out
Mm.
in that fashion. So if this one gets ugly in a hurry, folks, you know that Minnesota's probably getting up big.
Yeah. And I think if the Patriots do win, we're talking time of possession a lot. And Ramondre
Absolutely.
Stevenson went for,
Mhm.
120 yards, and it's the thing where they held the ball the whole third quarter, that kind of thing. The
Right.
Vikings are prone to third quarter meltdowns. They've been horrific in the third quarter and like pretty good in all the other quarters. So if the Vikings do get up to a lead and Patriots fans are looking for some hope at halftime, just know that the Vikings always fall apart in the third quarter. For Mike Debate, I am Luke Braun. Thank you all so much for listening to this crossover Thursday. Hope you all enjoy the game. I will see you all Friday morning. I don't know if Mike is planning to do
I
anything on
will be
Thursday
as
night.
well. Yep.
All right, great. So we will see you guys all Friday morning to recap whatever goes on in this game. Thank y'all so much once again for listening to Crossover Thursday, brought to you by Prize Picks on the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every